Hi, good evening, everyone, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are. Hey, Prophet Rashida, how are you? Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. So, welcome, everyone. This is Overcoming Illness, and I am founder and CEO of Enrich Your Health. I'm a holistic health coach, been doing my business. Thanks for the love. I've been doing my business since about 2010. Um, I myself have suffered from multiple food allergies. Sorry, the camera's shaking a little bit. From multiple food allergies. I worked in a prison for 22 years, and that made me ill. So I came down with multiple food allergies. I've had near-death experiences. And in the journey of trying to help myself with multiple food allergies, Lyme disease had actually fallen into my lap. I met somebody who actually is the founder of Central Mass Lyme Foundation, who wasn't the founder of it back when I met her. So it's kind of a long story, which I'll go into. So I do want to welcome everybody. This is Overcoming Illness. I'm a holistic health coach. Tonight I chose the topic to talk about Lyme disease and a little bit about what's coming in the fall, in the winter, how you can help yourself, whether it's with Lyme disease, autoimmune issues, or just kind of boosting your immune system for the fall and the winter with everybody, kids going back to school, people are going to start getting cooped up in their homes, their offices again, not going outside as much. So we need to know what we can do to build our immune system because as you can see, if you're watching the news, unfortunately, there's all kinds of crap going around, the monkeypox, the more COVID variants, whatever it might be. All I can say is don't let it get to you. Don't let it worry you. Just do the best that you can. So that's what tonight's broadcast is going to be about. I don't have any guests tonight. I'm it. I'm going to talk about Lyme disease, autoimmune, and things like that. So once again, I'm a holistic health coach. I suffered from multiple food allergies and Lyme disease fell into my lap by meeting the founder of Central Mass Lyme Foundation. And I started going to group meetings about Lyme disease. Her mom was misdiagnosed. She was diagnosed with ALS, and it was really Lyme disease. Fast forward, her husband wasn't feeling so well. I was teaching raw food classes, which just means to eat whole food without cooking it, because her husband wasn't feeling so well. Well, fast forward, it turned out he had Lyme disease. She didn't know it at the time. We stayed in touch. I did some talks on Lyme disease. I kept going to all the talks on Lyme disease, the group meetings every month. And they have different speakers there. Really, really good speakers. One who just passed away. Well, actually, I didn't meet him in the group meetings. I met him somewhere else. But Dr. Charles Ray Jones, I just found out about him. He helped thousands and thousands of children with Lyme disease. So I met some famous doctors by going to the conference for Lyme disease in Philadelphia. It's called ILADS, and it stands for International Lyme Association Disease Society. So if you want to learn about Lyme disease, that is the guru of all gurus, International Lyme Association Disease Society, ilads.org, ILADS.org. I is in India, L is in Larry, A is in Apple, D is in dog, S is in Sam.org. That is the place to get really, really good information on Lyme disease. So once again, just kind of fell into my lap, and I've really been a big advocate for it. I could not believe, by meeting so many people that are just misdiagnosed with it or have some of the symptoms of it, they may not ever get diagnosed with Lyme, but they have all the symptoms. So they either have an autoimmune issue that could be Lyme disease, and maybe they'll never know. It doesn't matter. Let's just figure out what's going on, some ways we can treat it better, and just feel better, right? I do want to put out a full disclosure. This is not meant to be medical advice. This is not meant to treat, heal, or cure you in any way. These are just things I've learned along the way. I am not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm not even a nutritionist. I'm a health coach. So, there could be things that I say that are controversial. We'll just put it that way. studies of finding these things out, but nothing is foolproof. Nothing is totally etched in stone, we'll just say. So please take what I say with a grain of salt and do your own research, okay? So let's just start out with number one, Lyme disease. How do you get it? Well, the number one way of getting it is from a tick bite. You don't always know you've gotten a tick bite. It can be the size of like a poppy seed. So that's the biggest way of getting it. Sometimes people will get symptoms right away. They'll get a bullseye rash. You ever see the symbol for Target, the store Target? That's what the bullseye rash looks like. It just looks like Target. And some people will get the bullseye rash. But there are different co-infections of Lyme disease that also have other symptoms on the body. Some people get like, they almost look like stretch marks on their body, on their sides, on the back. So here's some other symptoms. Brain fog. Now, especially in somebody younger, they can't remember things. They get dementia-like symptoms. Well, if you're around somebody, a family member, even yourself, and you're trying to say, I don't know, pass the salt, and it's at the tip of your tongue and you can't remember it. You can't remember things like how to get home. I had a friend, she would have to call her husband and ask him how to get home. She couldn't remember how to get home. Another woman that would attend the Lyme disease group meetings, she would say, thank God for GPS, because she could not remember how to get home. They call it Lyme brain. And because it affects the nervous system, it causes like this brain fog, very hard. They have cognitive problems trying to remember things, can't grasp a lot of information, and it's all due to the illness. So they call that Lyme brain. So it starts from a tick bite, and I will discuss some other ways that it can happen. And again, they are controversial. So please don't say Paula said, but do your own research. Okay. But so let me list some of the symptoms, and then I'll list some of the other ways that it is possible to get Lyme disease and why we in the Lyme Disease Society believe that. So some of the symptoms. So if you're watching this and you have some of these symptoms, you just may want to ask yourself, it might be Lyme disease. Number one, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis-like symptoms, MS, joint pain, Bell's palsy, headaches, migraines all the time, lower back pain, knee pain, hip replacements, lockjaw, TMJ, gut issues along with joint pain. Sometimes that will happen because the spirochetes, which are part of what Lyme disease is, they almost look like macaroni. Look them up. The spirochetes get in the gut and they destroy the gut. It makes them crave sugar. So that also causes candida, which that destroys the gut. And then in the long term, people start getting on different drugs to help the illness. And then that destroys the gut. So now another symptom is allergies, food allergies. Oh, wow. So I have a Facebook user here, never knew about brain fog. I think that means sisters from Lyme disease or something. I'm not sure what SXS means, but yeah. So it does. It causes brain fog, dementia-like symptoms. Now for somebody older, they're like, hey, they're just getting older, no big deal. But what do? You start to see this in young kids, and all of a sudden they can't remember things. They've got this brain fog all the time. My friend Darlene, her son, he didn't just have brain fog. He was lethargic all the time. He was tired all the time. He'd have Tourette syndrome. So those are some other symptoms. Tourette's is another big one. I'm trying to think of what else. It actually gets in the gums. Michelle would do talks for dentists because the spirochetes get up in the gums and people get infected gums and teeth from Lyme disease, believe it or not. It affects the eyes. People have sight issues. I noticed this by going to conferences. You walk in a room and it's like, shut the lights off. They want, those big overhead lights in hotel rooms or wherever. The first thing they'd say is, please shut the lights off. It was just too bright for them. Sound sensitivity. My friend Darlene would go in a restaurant. All of a sudden she'd be like, it's too loud in here. I can't take it. The what do you call it? The stereo would be too loud. And for an average person, it's fine. You're just like, hey, I don't know what she's talking about. It's not too loud. You get sensitive. They even get sensitive to cell towers. If they live near a cell tower, because it affects the nervous system, their body will go haywire. They have trouble sleeping at night. They have to do all kinds of shenanigans to find ways to sleep. Dr. Tom Moorcroft, I saw a talk with him. He talked about leaning your bed more slanted and laying the other way. So your head's tilted the other direction and your feet are up. He talked about getting rid of any Wi-Fi near you and shutting it off in the home so you can sleep. No light in your room, no electronics in your room. Just dark as possible can help with sleep. Some people in the Lyme disease community swear by melatonin. It just depends on you. I do caution you. Check with your doctor. One thing about melatonin, it can be, your body can get used to it, and then you might want to sleep during the day. So I want to caution you with taking melatonin. Somebody else say something. Symptoms. I have Facebook users symptoms. I don't know what that means. So those are some symptoms. Like I said, cognitive issues are huge. They can't grasp a lot of information. Me as a health coach, if I coach somebody with autoimmune or a Lyme disease issue, I can't give them a lot of information because it would just be too overwhelming. They can't handle it. Like we would do Lyme conferences, and it would be tough because we're all handling like emails and all this stuff. And for some, they had to the average person has to do this anyways, but think of it times 10 with somebody with an illness. Had to make sure they wrote everything down. Everything had to be on a calendar. Everything had to be just so to keep it organized, because they would forget, different things. They forget who they talked to. They forget that somebody sent them something. You know what I mean? Like, just different than your average person. I mean, we all have forgetful moments. Don't get me wrong. We all do, especially when you get older. But it's worse for them. It's a lot harder. It's definitely a lot harder. They have to watch their diet. Different things will feed the illness. I talked about it a minute ago. Sugar will feed the illness. So they crave it big time. Like they almost can't control it. Like, I gotta have ice cream. I've gotta have cake. Because that's the illness wanting that sugar. And that's what causes candida, and that causes problems in the gut, like the leaky gut syndrome, and multiple food allergies. That's usually another symptom. They'll have multiple food allergies. Now, I suffered from multiple food allergies. I don't believe I have Lyme disease. I do have an autoimmune issue, which I didn't find out till 30 years later. And it begins with an E, and it has to do with something about my blood cells, and they just make me have food allergies, and it was in my throat, and it begins with an E, entero something. I can't even pronounce it, but it's not Lyme. And I don't even think that I have Lyme because I didn't have these types of symptoms. I never had headaches or joint pain or any of that kind of stuff. And for me, it was just gut issues and not being able to eat a lot of gluten and just being tired because I wasn't digesting the food that I ate. So I was bloated a lot. So that's what it was for me. Like I said, Lyme disease just fell into my lap. I feel like it gets thrown under the rug a lot, especially with everything going on now. People have all these issues and they go and they try to get help and they can't either get it diagnosed or get the right treatment. So those are some symptoms. Anybody have questions? Symptoms. Okay. So SXS X as in xylophone stands for symptoms. I didn't know what that meant. Thank you. So I don't know who that is because I can't see what Facebook user means, but thank you for that. So anyway, yeah, so those are some of the symptoms. So like I said, if you know anybody that's going through these types of things, highly suggest you check out ilads.org. That'll give you some intel on everything that I'm saying and some backup. Now, I said that there are some things that are controversial where it comes from. So it could come from mother to child. You know, mom could have got bit many, many years ago. They are tracing it back. Dr. Stephen Phillips is tracing it back to Italy. He's doing studies. He's tracing it back to Italy. So we were finding in the Lyme community, it's running in families. So from mother to child, so at birth, nursing, blood transfusions, sexually transmitted. It's very similar, and you can look this up, do your own research, but it's very similar to syphilis, believe it or not. So some of us believe, like I said, these are our beliefs, nothing's etched in stone. It's kind of like another strain of syphilis in a way, because when you hear this, you'll understand where I'm coming from. So when I was going to these group meetings, for those of you who don't know me, I'm in North Carolina now. I lived in Massachusetts. Everybody in that Lyme disease community, it was running in their family. One of my friends had 19 members of her family had the illness. Another woman, her and her 3 kids had the illness. Her husband had just gotten diagnosed just before I moved. Another woman had 6 kids. Her and her husband have it. The 6 kids have it. She had to homeschool all 6 kids. And like I said, you know, it's running, and we're seeing that it runs in families. So you do your own research, but we believe that it is being sexually transmitted. You know, another incident that I came across that, I mean, like I said, you do your own research, but even after I moved to North Carolina, I was at breakfast and I was sitting next to this couple, and he was just getting sicker and sicker by the minute. And they started to talk about illness or something. And I said, do you mind my asking what's going on? I said, I think I asked him if he had MS or something. And the more we talked, he had all the types of symptoms. She started talking, and she was saying she had a hip replacement as a kid. What child, unless you're in a car accident or something, has a hip replacement as a kid? And then she also had a blood transfusion. So my belief, again, my opinion, my belief, but you do your own research, was they were transmitting it amongst each other. Now, she went on to say that her family members also had lots of issues and lots of symptoms. So it was running in her family. So, you know, she got sicker from the blood transfusion because there was something in the blood. My realtor had to take Humira. She had swelling behind her eye and everything. And she started to tell me that she had blood donated to her from somebody who had arthritic type issues. Well, like I said, do your own research. She had a lot of symptoms of Lyme and things like that, and she had a blood transfusion. Again, a lot of these things are controversial. Don't mark me to it, but that's what we're finding, that some of these things are happening. So getting back to people going back to school, even, you know, some people have the summer off, teachers, whatever, you're just going to be more cooped up, right? Whether you lived in like New England, you know, there's some areas that are still hot, but a lot of places are going to start cooling down. You're going to be cooped inside more. You're not going to get out as much. Well, that's where illness thrives, is being inside. So you've got to do stuff to keep your immune system up. Do things to detoxify. Cilantro is a detoxifier. It's a natural detoxifier. Activated charcoal is a natural detoxifier. Bentonite clay is a natural detoxifier. So those are some things that you can detox from if you're not feeling well. oregano oil. Get yourself some real, grow an oregano plant, some olive oil, put some oregano in there. If you have it in there for a few days, look it up on YouTube, the exact whatever you need to do, and have that ready. So when fall, winter hits, people start getting different colds, whatever, you've got something you can take. You don't have to go, because think about it, even if you go get an antibiotic or whatever, guess what? Everybody else is getting all these illnesses. You could get it too, so it's just another way to prevent yourself from getting sick by being around more sick people. By going back to school, kids are going to be around more sick people. You've got to be cleaner. Make sure you're scrubbing down the countertops and everything, keeping your house clean, open the windows once in a while, make them take their shoes off at the door. They're going to be playing sports. Here's another one. They can get tick bites when they're on the ground, when they're rolling on the ground playing football or whatever. They can get bit by a tick. Do tick checks. Make sure you're checking them thoroughly. You can do it with like a lint roller. You can take the clothes off, put them in the dryer for 20 minutes, and that will kill the ticks. Hot water in the washing machine doesn't do it. They survive that, believe it or not. So you want to put it in a hot dryer. So if they're playing sports, they come in, take those clothes and throw them in the dryer for 20 minutes. So that any ticks that are on those clothes are off, and then wash them. I know that sounds a little backwards, but seriously, it'll kill them. The sticky lint rollers, you can roll down people, like if they're hiking in the woods or whatever, just roll that and you'd be surprised. Sometimes you get ticks on that. Other ways to prevent it are like, not everybody will do this, but say you're gardening or something like that, could put on rubber boots. The ticks can't crawl up the rubber boots. Or you can tuck your socks into something, your pant legs, your pants into your socks. That's what I wanted to say. So they can't crawl up your pant leg and get your leg. You want to spray yourself. Now, some people will say use essential oils, but it may not be strong enough. It's a better option, but DEET is definitely stronger, and more studies prove that it can prevent the ticks from coming on you. But again, essential oils is an option if you are totally against having chemicals on you. I just say this, a few minutes of chemicals on you versus getting that illness for life, just wash it off when you come in. It's up to you. That's your decision. I can't tell people what to do. I mean, some people can't handle the chemicals. They might be sensitive. So it's up to you what you can do. But those are some ways to prevent it. If you have long hair like me, you want to tie it up in a bun, put a hat on, or just have it like really tight. The ticks like to attack the back of the neck, the back of the ears, the back of the knees, and that's why people get the pain there. They get the pain in the back of the neck. They get the pain in the knee. That's where the tick is bitten. If you're going to be out walking, or like I said, if your kids are going and playing sports, have them carry a tweezer. I'm not getting endorsed for this, but I have a friend that sells tickies, Tickease, and it's a special kind of tweezer for just removing ticks. So that's something else you can do, is just carry either tickies or a tweezer so you can just get rid of that tick if it is on you, on somebody. Another thing, people love to play in the leaves in the fall, especially kids. I remember running and jumping. Well, guess what? Ticks can live in the leaves. I feel like this big Debbie Downer right now, but I just feel like people need to be aware of these things. There's so many stupid illnesses going on right now. If this just helps you a little bit, it's worth it. It's worth it because, the ticks can live in the leaves and you can get bit there, believe it or not. And kids love to jump and play in the leaves. Watch out for your pets, find out ways for your pets to prevent ticks from coming in. You want to have tick prevention on your pets so they're not bringing it in. So those are some things about Lyme. And it, like I said, it can be very similar to autoimmune issues. Sometimes it won't get diagnosed as Lyme. So it's, You could say it's an autoimmune issue. I've said it on the show before. Lupus is very similar to Lyme. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist or any of that. I don't really know if they're one and the same, but they have a lot of the same symptoms. And then, of course, you're going to wind up treating them very similarly. As far as diet goes, you really, really want to have the least amount of sugar as possible. You want to have eliminate gluten, dairy, processed foods. Spicy food can cause inflammation in the body, for especially for people with Lyme or autoimmune. So what do I mean? Like cayenne pepper, jalapeno peppers, things like that. Prophet Rashida, this is good information. Didn't know that. Thanks. You're welcome. Like I said, I just feel like with all these things going on, monkeypox and COVID variants, and at least if you can prevent yourself from getting Lyme or, or even any illness, like I said, we got to boost our immune systems coming into the fall or winter, because this is when it does become fall, especially going into Christmas and all of that. It starts to become flu season, and with all these variants, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, I've got the COVID variant or whatever, you know what I mean? So just boost your immune system so you don't have to worry about it. So like I said, some other things that can prevent, I should say, keep your immune system up, we'll put it that way, is garlic. Make some detox soup and freeze it. So that way, if you or your family starts to get sick, you've already got some soup ready. Put garlic in there. Don't cook it too much. Raw garlic is all the better. Garlic is like, they used to use it in war times. They used to use it to heal wounds. So it's very healing. It can really help. Onion, another one. Don't cook it too much. So put some garlic in there. Put some onion in there. Turmeric is anti-inflammatory. That'll bring the inflammation down in the body. Make sure you use some pepper, because pepper helps the body absorb turmeric. So right there, just get some either vegetable broth, chicken broth, throw some vegetables in there. There may be some that can't be frozen. They might turn to mush. Maybe do that last. Just have some of it ready, and then maybe throw in a vegetable there when you unthaw it. Whatever you want to do. But have it ready, so you're not like scrambling and going to the grocery store and getting... And half the time that stuff's not as good as the homemade stuff. So bone broth is another really good one for somebody with autoimmune, because it's got a lot of nutrients in there that can help your body. I will caution you, another thing that's not so great for somebody with Lyme or even mold toxicity, which we talked about on the last show, or maybe 2 shows ago, I forget. We talked about mold toxicity. Well, if your body has mold toxicity from the environment you're around, you also don't want to eat foods that have mold. Cheese can have mold. Mushrooms can have mold. I'm trying to think. Or just food that's been sitting around a little while can have mold issues. So again, do your own research. But if you have mold toxicity in your home, here's another one. Definitely be aware of this, because I don't know who's watching me from where. It's hurricane season. So a lot of homes are going to be getting flooded out, and a lot of people are going to just clean it out. But guess what? They may not clean it enough to get rid of the mold damage that's in that home. Please, if you are watching, make sure you get rid of, once that water subsides, because this may happen to you. They're talking, what I'm hearing is the New England coastline may get hit by a lot of water, and the southern area. So we're talking New York, Maryland, New Jersey, I forget what else, right in that like northern area. And then they're talking like Mexico, southern area is going to get a lot of water too. So if you live in those areas and your home gets flooded, once you get rid of that water, if you're still able to live in your home, and some people will be, make sure you get it checked out, because you'll start having issues with mold toxicity, and it's no fun. It mimics Lyme disease symptoms. You'll start getting headaches and problems like Avis, who was on my show 2 shows ago, I believe. And I'm hoping to have her on again so she can tell us some of the things that she's been doing to help herself. Because she's been living in mold toxicity and didn't realize it for, I think it was like 12 years. Go back and watch the show. So now she's starting to detoxify herself and getting ready to maybe possibly move from that home, because it's just not, it's killing her health. It's not good for her health. So keep that in mind. If you're living in an area with a lot of water, you've gone through floods. Like I know where I grew up, our basement got flooded a few times and we had paneling down there. My mom never removed that paneling. I'll tell you right now, if you remove that paneling, I'll bet you money there's mold behind it. She had a lot of breathing problems. You know, she was a smoker. She did quit smoking in her older years. I had asthma growing up, but who knows? Was that causing some of her breathing problems? We'll never know. You know, I've moved back there and lived there a couple of years, and I swore up and down, I'm like, I know if I stayed here, I probably would have had even more health issues than I already had, because I'd be breathing in that toxicity from the mold in the home. So keep that in mind if you live where there's flooding, or like even by beaches. Sometimes it's very humid. Have your home checked for mold. It's not that hard. Get it tested, especially if you have some symptoms. You know, I told you all the symptoms of Lyme, but that can also be mold toxicity, or both. I have friends that have both. They have mold toxins in their body, or in Lyme disease. So I know people that do have both. How do you clean your fruit? Oh, that's a good question, Rashida. I know you can use like vinegar. Vinegar will clean off some of the stuff from your fruit, like the pesticides, things like that. They sell stuff. I don't know, you know, if it's better to just use vinegar. Sometimes I've seen like baking soda as well as another way. Those are some ways, like you just kind of rinse it with those things. Now, if they're not organic, just keep in mind that it can be all the way inside the fruit. You know, the outside isn't just going to be the only thing if it's not organic. So just keep that in mind. Oh, Rashida, you're dealing with mold now. Oh my goodness. Do you want to come on and tell us about it? Feel free. I'll send you the link. So tell me, what do you mean you're dealing with mold now in your home? Wow. Well, I'm glad I'm mentioning it, because like I said, with the weather being so crazy right now, people are getting water that never dealt with it before, or not that much. And it's not something that they would think about. And some people don't even think about mold toxicity at all, because they just never thought about it. Now, for me, another thing, I worked in a prison for 22 years. They never cleaned the vents above me. And I wasn't where the jail cells are, but, you know, I asked them once to clean the vents, and they came in with the vacuum hose, and they just kind of got the edge of it. I was like, that's not quite what I meant. So we were, especially when and this is something you'll notice, this is how you'll know if you're allergic to mold. I've noticed it, like if I go in hotels or stores or where I worked, as soon as they put on the air conditioning, because that's where the mold is, I'd be a mess. I'd be sniffling, sneezing, coughing. It was the mold in the air conditioning units. So another thing to be aware of, make sure wherever you live, make sure you're cleaning your ducts. You know, even where I am right now, I'm renting, but you know, they haven't cleaned these vents either, and I need to get on them, because I don't want to be breathing in bad stuff, you know. So keep that in mind. If you've got air conditioning going all the time, you're in hot air place, you know, the air is like 109 degrees, and you've got the air conditioning going, check your air conditioning. See if there's mold coming from that. I know Another thing that used to happen to me when I lived in Massachusetts, when I had just a window air conditioner, mold would get in the back of that thing. And I'd be a mess. I'd be like, what is bothering me? I'd be like, okay, I've got my windows shut, doors shut. I'm thinking, because it might be ragweed season or what's the other, goldenrod season. That used to make me a mess. So I'd shut everything. I'm like, I've got the air conditioning on. Why am I getting all filled up? It was the mold in the air conditioner. So Rashida hasn't said anything else. Okay. Well, Rashida, you and I will have to talk, definitely, and see what's going on, see what we can do to help you. So those are some things to, just keep in mind. And the other thing to keep in mind, if your kid or yourself gets bit by a tick, pay attention. You may not even know you got bit. If you start to get a low-grade fever, start to get rashes, a bullseye rash is the key, but you start to get joint pain, those are some clues that you might have gotten bitten. So if you are going to the games of your kids, make sure you're preventing yourself from getting bit. Put that DEET on. If you don't want to use DEET, then use an essential oil, something to prevent yourself from getting bit. Use prevention. Like I said, wear a hat, because these ticks will get you. I mean, I have a friend, he loves to hike, and he'll show pictures all the time of all the ticks that he gets on him. But he uses that trick with the sticky roller, which I think is awesome. Because if you roll that down your body, all the ticks will just stick to it. And then putting your clothes in the dryer, and I forgot to add, take a shower. So put your clothes in a hot dryer for 20 minutes, take a shower, get rid of those ticks. So those are some things you can do. So anybody have any questions out there? I know I don't have any guests, but we may not go the whole hour today, but I really just wanted to dive deep into that. Because, with kids going back to school, they're going to be rolling on the ground, on the playground, whatever. And, they need prevention. And I remember, I don't know what the outcome is. Okay, we'll have to talk, Rashida, definitely. So she just said it's in their home. So if you're not on the platform she's on, because some of you might be on YouTube or whatever, she just said her mold is in their home. So I'll have to talk to her and find out about that. But yeah, I remember a friend of mine a few years back, what was it, daycare? I think it was daycare, or her child was in either like 1st through 3rd grade, something like that, kindergarten. They weren't going to put any protection on the children before they went outside. They were refusing to. I don't know what the outcome was, but let me tell you, mama bears were not happy. I mean, what is wrong with putting a little protection on these kids before they go outside? So that was something. So something to keep in mind. If your kids are, going to be going out on the playground at school or whatever, I think they even sell like little wipes with off on them. Pack those in their little backpack to throw on themselves. Like I said, what's worse, a little chemicals on them for a few hours, or getting this illness for life? You have to weigh out the consequences. So I get it. I know a lot of people out there like, I don't want to use those chemicals. And some people can't. They're very sensitive. But find what works. Tea tree oil is good. I want to say rose geranium oil is another one. But they may not be strong enough. So just keep it in mind. All right, so it's 7:42. I think I gave you guys an earful. I just want to remind everybody, I am a health coach. I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching, speaking engagements. I wrote a book, But God, I'm Still Here. And this is a great, great book for people, not just about like my journey. I have a chapter in here about how the enemy has been trying to take me out since birth. But there's some great stories in there from some great women that they just overcame some amazing things. So you can get that at enrichyourhealth.com, ENRICHUR, well, it's on the screen, HEALTH.com. You can get that at the store. If it's blank, go to the other store because it's under construction. So just make sure you go to the other store. And I have digital recipe books, ebooks that can help people with an autoimmune issue. There are lots of dairy-free, gluten-free, low sugar, nut-free recipes because I suffered from multiple food allergies. So I put together really simple recipes and digital ebooks for people that are easy, simple recipes. So that's another thing with kids going back to school, whatever, if you're looking for simple recipes for them to bring, let me know. I can do customized recipes too if the books aren't exactly what you want. I can do customized recipes if you're out there. You get overwhelmed. I mean, one of the things with me is, I will say this, I got overwhelmed and I couldn't find simple recipes. There's tons out there. Oh yeah. But there'd be, you'd have to buy coconut flour and coconut oil and avocado oil and just all these ingredients that are expensive. You had to go all over the place to get them. I try to make it simple. So you don't have to drive all over the place to get these ingredients. You don't have to spend a fortune to get them. And they're anti-inflammatory. So they're going to bring the inflammation down in the body. They're going to reduce joint pain, bloating. If you find yourself you can't lose weight, they'll even help with that because it reduces the bloating in your body. So I've got those on the website. I can do customized. If you don't feel comfortable asking a question on the platform, either before the broadcast or after, you can usually reach me on Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, or you can text me, but I'll probably just set up an appointment to talk to you, just to let you know. You're welcome, Rashida. I'm sorry you're driving. I wish you could just come on. We'll have to do a show together. I think that would be a really good thing to do. So I'll give you guys a couple more minutes. Just want to let you know I am looking for sponsors. I'm looking for other people to be on the show. We're starting to get booked for August and September. Got a few people booked coming up in the next couple weeks. Some exciting people who've dealt with some illnesses. So I'm looking for people that are either going through an illness, they've overcome an illness. They could be a spouse. They could be a pastor, an apostle that have helped people overcome illness. Anything like that. Caregivers, practitioners, doctors, nurses. They need to tell their stories. We need to hear them. People need to know what they've witnessed, So if you're a nurse out there, you're a doctor, it could be about COVID. It could be about Lyme. We've talked about cancer on this show. It could be heart disease. There's no limits. It does not matter. So once again, if you're suffering from food allergies, food sensitivities, or an autoimmune issue and you feel overwhelmed, you're sick of trying to weed through all the stuff that's on the internet, you're trying to find recipes, but there's always too many ingredients, then I'm your girl. I can help you. And I do believe in prayer. I do believe in, pray the healing scriptures of yourself if you are ill. I truly believe that can help. God is the ultimate healer. Like I said, I can't heal, cure, treat, any of that. But God is the ultimate healer. I mean, we did have a witness on that with Pastor Vincent Shannon. If you didn't see that show, please go back and watch it. He's an amazing man. He overcame cancer, congestive heart failure, and COVID. So he's amazing. So if you didn't see that, go back and watch the replay. And it was with Pastor Vincent Shannon. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up. But if you guys have any questions, I'll give you one more minute to ask any questions. I don't see anything. Like I said, please take everything I've said today with a grain of salt. Do your own research. because some things are not totally out there, and you know how that goes. 1 minute something can say one thing, another minute it says something else. So do your own research. I'm just telling you what we believe in the Lyme disease community, from what we've learned from each other, from other doctors. It's just nothing's totally etched in stone. You do your own research and come to your own conclusions. But with that, have some compassion. I'll leave you on this note. One of the other things that happens with people with Lyme disease or even an autoimmune, it really does affect their brain, their mental health. A lot of times they have anger issues or OCD. Those are two symptoms I forgot to address. If you have anybody in the family with OCD or anger issues all the time, it could be an autoimmune issue. Take a look at it. Are they experiencing other symptoms like joint pain and headaches and sight problems and all of that? If they are, then that might be why they are the way they are. You might need to get them help. Autism too can sometimes be related. Not saying it is every time, because there's all different reasons for autism. It could be diet related. It could be vaccine related. It can be Lyme autoimmune related. There's different reasons. Diet, I think I might have mentioned. So there's different reasons, but we are finding that it can or might be related to an autoimmune issue. So those are things to keep in mind, and just to look at that bigger picture, So if your child is always acting out, look at their diet. I found out in groups when I was studying food allergies that corn and milk could cause violence in children. Who would have known? Just corn and milk. So look at those types of things. If your child is experiencing anger all the time or mental health issues, it may be an autoimmune issue, an underlying autoimmune issue, or a family member. So have some compassion, because they may not be able to help it. You might think, why are they acting that way? Like, here's one last example, and I'll leave you on this note. I work a full-time job answering the phone for grocery stores. Do you know, I know when somebody has an autoimmune issue when I answer the phone, because they don't stop talking. They just keep going. And then, you can't even stop them. It's just like they're like a machine. And I'm like, oh boy, I know they've got something. And I'll start to talk to them, and they'll tell me they've got something. I usually figure it out in 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, I'm never getting off the phone now, am I? Because they'll start to talk about the food that they're eating, and it just goes on and on. Yeah. So even like I just had a call the other day. Her son, she said her son was disabled. And I asked her, I said, well, what do you mean he's disabled? He was autistic, had some, he's older. He's like 30 something. But he was very like set in his ways, like OCD type stuff. And I figured it, by talking to her, and I was like, you never know, he might have Lyme disease, because he had a lot of the symptoms. So just wanted to throw that out there. Have compassion for these people around you if they're acting that way. It may not be their fault. It may actually be an illness. So I wanted to put that out there, because if I didn't hang around the Lyme disease community, I would have never known. Who would know? Who would know? So we could go on about that forever. Sometimes diabetic people can have anger issues too. That's another thing. But definitely in the Lyme community or the autoimmune community. Oh, Rashida would love that. Yes, we'll have to set something up. Definitely. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up. It's almost 8. So if anybody wants any, and one other thing, there are free gifts on my website as well. There's a reversing illness ebook, and there's a 6-day immunity meal plan guide. So feel free to grab those. Just go to enrichyourhealth.com and you can grab those. So if there's anything you need, just please reach out to me. And last but not least, I also offer business funding. So when a bank says no, we can offer business funding among some other resources like payment processing and financing and things like that. Healthcare for people that need cheaper healthcare, whether you're an employer for your employees or even an employee or a self-employed person, whatever it might be. So those, I just want to throw that out there, that I also offer that as well. So if you know anybody that could use those services, reach out to me for that as well. All right, you guys have a great night. This was an awesome broadcast, even without a guest. So thank you, Rashida, for being on, and thank you for everybody for watching, whether you're on the replay or I just don't see you because you didn't comment. I do know you're here. I feel the love. So thank you so much, and thank you to Elevation TV Network once again for having me. I love being on this platform. And I'm looking forward to more shows. So please join us again next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, you guys have a great week. Thanks again, Prophet Rashida.